Hey folks, how's it going? Chris here from the Ministry of Dice, back again today with another video presentation for you all to enjoy. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing a casual team brew, based around the Guardians of the Galaxy affiliation. The new movie's come out, it's Guardians of the Galaxy 3 everywhere, I've got all excited about the affiliation. And, in a strange confluence of events, Andy and I's latest episode of the Ministry of Dice podcast was talking about Ramp in the Secret Wars set. And this guy came up, the new super rare Star-Lord card. We were talking about Ramp, talking about this guy, and a little brewing idea struck me. So, I thought I'd throw the camera on, sit down, share that brewing idea that I alluded to in the podcast, and, you know, just have a bit of fun making a casual team. So, stick around, I'll be back in 5 seconds. Let's take a look at a Guardians of the Galaxy team using this guy for Ramp. Yes, folks, welcome. Thanks for sticking around. So let's get into some brewing activity. And what I've done is I've got together a bit of a short list of Guardians of the Galaxy cards on this little whiteboard here so that I can slot them into a little team frame that I've put in the centre of the whiteboard. I wouldn't expect you to do this, of course. I'd expect you guys to make good use of the team builder function on the Dice Coalition website, but I've done this in order to make it a little bit more visually stimulating for you fine folks. So if you're not familiar with the team builder, I'll drop a link in the description down below, but I've just drawn down the pickies from the team builder and dropped them on this whiteboard, and I've batched them up. So I've got like a few win conditions up here, I've got a bit of ramp over there, got some control and removal type stuff down here that I've shortlisted for consideration. But as I said in the intro there, the main card, the key card that got me thinking about rebrewing the kind of old school single affiliation golden Guardians of the Galaxy team was this guy over here, the new super rare Star-Lord in the Secret Wars set. So when I pull a super rare, I like to make teams out of the super rares I pull. That's just a thing I do. It's a little achievement unlocked mission that I like to set myself. And this guy in set is tantamount to useless, basically. Let's have a look at his game text. Star-Lord, Black Vortex, 3-cost fist with Team Watch. Deal 2 damage to target character die and prep a die from your bag. And the Team Watch is Guardians of the Galaxy. He's Guardians of the Galaxy affiliated. Now, in set, that's pointless, because he's the only Guardians of the Galaxy affiliated character in the Secret Wars set. However, in that wider golden context, there's lots of options and lots of things you can do with him. So, I like the dual utility of it. It's a bit of ramp and it's a little bit of ping damage to your opponent's character dice. He's cheap at a 3-cost, although his fielding cost is a bit painful. That's going to be what it's going to be, but I might have to double up on ramp. But I'm going to centre the team around him. This is going to be the little kind of ramp engine and removal engine that I'm going to make use of for the team. So there we go. Star-Lord, pride of place, first card in the team. But when we were talking about Ramp in Secret Wars, and this card came up on the podcast recording, check it out, came out Monday, a little combo occurred to me, an idea jumped into my head. A card I've used a few times in the past in Guardians of the Galaxy team, and it's this guy here. Cosmo, Space Dog, Cosmonaut. So this is an common from the Guardians of the Galaxy set. 2-cost shield with the Guardians of the Galaxy affiliation, and Cosmo's game effect reads, when fielded, you may KO Cosmo Space Dog. If you do, prevent all damage dealt to your other Guardians of the Galaxy character dice this turn. So Cosmo, he, she, depending on whether you're a movie fan or a comic book fan, is a lovely bit of control, a lovely bit of protection, very annoying for your opponent to just constantly spam Cosmos, so they can't do anything to your characters on your turn, which is a nice position to be in. But the actual key element here is that Cosmo is self-KOing and has a 0-0-1 fielding cost across his levels, particularly that level 1, level 2 at 0 fielding cost is beautiful. So what we've got is a character here that we can buy early doors while Star-Lord is out in the field and just KO and refield at our heart's content to trigger the Team Watch effect that's sitting on Star-Lord. So get that ping damage across the board and to get those dice prepped. And, you know, if you've got 2 Cosmos, which is not out the realms of possibility in a golden single affiliation, kind of casual, themey format, because you've got a little bit more room to breathe, a little bit more space to buy dice and brew around, you could find yourself doing that KO, refield several times every turn. So Cosmo is going on the team. That's going to be my little combo piece to drive a bit of a ramp engine and to get a bit of ping damage across the board. So there we go, Cosmo Space Dog, pride of place, second card in the team. So that's my little engine in the middle. But What Star-Lord also does is he solves another problem that I've found myself having in the past with a win condition that I like to use. So let's take a look at that. So the win condition then is over here. It's this one, Yondu, Ruthless Pirate. 5-cost Bolt from the Guardians of the Galaxy set is an uncommon rarity. When fielded, Yondu deals 1 damage to your opponent for each of your active Guardians characters. So what was always nice to do was to get a few Guardians characters out in the field, which already I'm kind of looking at 1 or 2 to camp out and sit and be ready for when I want to make my Yondu move. Field a Yondu and ping, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage across the board at your opponent. Although it tends to only be sort of 4, 5 or 6 damage at a time. So you want to be able to rinse and repeat the effect. Now, what I found generally happened was a couple of things. That first, Yondu would just get stuck in the field. He'd get stuck in the field, and I'd attack with him, and my opponent would, block him with sidekicks if he was on level 2 or 3, or find ways that I'd like distracting him back or whatever. He'd get stuck in the field, so I'd then have to ramp up, get the 5 together to buy another one in order to get the effect. Or they'd take the hit, let him through for 3, 5, or 6, knowing that he might get lost in the bag because we haven't got a lot of churn in the Guardians of the Galaxy affiliation, so I'm just a bit delayed. Also, this idea of like recycling my dice all the time was leaving my field a little bit bare because I was losing characters. But Star-Lord solves that problem for me. He is now a game effect that's going to allow me to KO Yondu and reuse him more kind of consistently, because Star-Lord says deal 2 damage to target character die. It doesn't say target opposing character die, so I can shoot my own Yondu with Star-Lord. Now, I've got to be careful on the timing on that. What that means is that particular turn I can't use my Cosmo Space Dog little combo, because if I KO Cosmo, I can't shoot my own Yondu because it prevents all damage dealt to other Guardians character dice this turn. So I've got to get my timing right, but having used the Cosmo and Star-Lord to ramp up to get the Yondu, I'm probably comfortable at that point not using Cosmo, because Yondu, when fielded, will trigger the Star-Lord game effect and will trigger the Star-Lord ping and ramp. So that's my core setup. I've got a bit of ramp going on there, although it's only a tiny bit of ramp. I might amp that up further. It's a bit of character damage, a bit of ping across my opponent's characters. I've got Cosmo there to allow me to consistently, turn after turn, field a character to make sure that Star-Lord is getting the prep trigger, and also for a bit of protection of my characters on my turn if I want to do an attack. And I've got Yondu to do some bigger, chunkier direct damage attacks, and Star-Lord in order to recycle him. But now, to make that even more effective, I'm going to need a bit of help dealing with the fielding costs of Yondu. If I roll him in on level 3 all the time, then that's going to start getting expensive. And I'm going to need some more Guardians to drop in the field to make sure that that Yondu swing is even more painful, even more effective. So let's take a look at some of the ramp cards. So there are a couple of other kind of rampy options available to us in Guardians teams. We've got, for example, the Rush game effect, which exists with Gamora, Rocket, Groot. There's a few rampy ones, but I'm eliminating that one because I feel like I'd need to... That's like kind of going down 2 ramp avenues, and I want to laser beam focus on making the best use of the Star-Lord ramp. That's the whole point of this team, is to make sure I'm getting some good use out of my sexy super rare that I pulled from my countertop display. So I'm eliminating Rush, and I'm not a big fan of doing like kind of janky nowhere switcheroo type stuff. That just does not work for me. Obviously, I can't use Star-Lord for any any other persona of Star-Lord for other ramp effects because I've already got a Star-Lord, which leaves me then with some Mantises. We've got this one here, Gift from the Priests of Palmer. While Mantis is active, when a non-Mantis Guardian's character dies KO, prep a dice from your bag. And I've got this one over here, Fragmented Mind. While Mantis is active, your Guardian character dice cost 1 less to field. Now, both of those could be useful in the context of the team that I'm trying to put together. Obviously, the Mantis here that triggers a prep when I KO a non-Mantis Guardians character. Well, I've already got an engine doing that in the team with Cosmo Space Dog, so that's nice. That's an extra prep. So Mantis and Star-Lord camping out in the field would be a double dice prep when I KO'd Cosmo Space Dog, and would mean I've got 2 Guardians characters camping out in order to contribute to the direct damage total that Yondu's delivering. But then the Mantis Fragmented Mind would also help me deal with fielding costs, would make Yondu 0-0-1 across all his faces, and make Cosmo 0 across the board. So both of those are good candidates. 3 costs, so it's a little bit of a diversion, I think. You know, I'd probably be looking at my turn 1 purchase being Star-Lord, my turn 2 purchase maybe being one of these Mantises, and then just go crazy into picking up other Guardians characters as I see fit. Like I say, in a casual single affiliation space, you do have a little bit more elbow room, a little bit more breathing space to tinker around there. Let me know down in the comments below which of the 2 Mantises you might have gone for at this juncture in the team building. I think I'm going to go for Gifts from the Priests of Parma to get the extra prep. I'm just thinking that while the discount is going to be super useful, the discount on the fielding cost, there's no two ways about it. Mantis is just going to help me, you know, so if my opponent is removing Star-Lord, I'm still getting that prep. It's a bit of churn to speed my bag cycle up too, which I think is useful. I think prep is handy, you know, if I'm managing my bag well to cycle stuff through when I need them most. So yeah, I think the prepping from the bag is going to be more useful in this particular instance. But let me know. That's open to debate. And I'm also not naive to the fact that I'm setting up a kind of 3-card ramp combo for this team right now, which could be a little bit tricky. But don't forget, I want more Guardians in the field. I want as many Guardians in the field as I can get in order to make Yondu more effective. So there we are. Let's get Mantis added into the 4th slot on the team. Let's have a look at a bit of utility, bit of extra control, bit of removal, that type of stuff to really help the team out and support it even further. So I just gathered up a few cards from the Guardians of the Galaxy affiliation that I'm a fan of, or have used in the past. Obviously, right out the gate, in this instance, I've got to eliminate the Star-Lord Space Oddity because I've already got a Star-Lord taking a slot on the team. But there's a few in here that can really help me out. Angela, Odin's daughter, is a useful card. She allows me to ignore my opponent's when fielded abilities, which could put me in a strong position playing against other affiliated teams, other theming teams that use when fielded effects to deal their damage or to mess around with my stuff. I do also like this Groot, Force of Nature, 4-cost shield from the Guardians of the Galaxy set that stops my Guardians of the Galaxy characters from being targeted by opposing global abilities or action dice, so that's a nice bit of control. We've got the Rocket Raccoon here. I'm the baddest. This is a nice bit of removal that my man Andy, England, on the Ministry of Dice podcast is a massive fan of. Just fielding your rocket, dealing damage equal to his attack across the field just to really get up in your opponent's face and annoy them, which is good. We've got a Groot here that reduces damage my characters take. We've got a Groot here that stops me from taking damage, reduces damage that's dealt to me as the player. So there's some nice stuff here. We've got some janky stuff like the Quasars. We've got one here that allows you to use any energy type to pay for globals. I'm not sure that's of much use to me with the team I'm constructing right now, but it's janky enough. I've liked this one in the past as well, that cuts off your opponent's question mark energy. This has always been a lot of fun to drop on the board. You'd be surprised how disruptive it can be. So there's lots of options to fill the team up. Got Agent Venom here as a bit of targeted removal. He's got Call Out. And he also stays alive if he's calls out a villain character, so that's a nice piece. We've got the Adam Warlocks. Where are they? Hang on, here we go over this side. So we've got Adam Warlock, the man who stalked the stars, that when he attacks, he ignores the text of all opposing character dice of a lower level. And then we've got this one, which I think is going to go on the team. Adam Warlock, the being known as him. 5-cost mask here that says, while Adam Warlock is active, your character dies when fielded effects trigger twice. So Adam Warlock's nice. He's obviously really helpful for Yondu because he'll allow me to double up the damage I deal when I drop Yondu in the field. He also could synergize very well with stuff like Rocket Raccoon. That allows me to trigger rockets when fielded effect twice over as well. So I can kind of see a bit of a picture forming here around what I might want to do with the team. Yeah, in fact, I'm doing it. I'm going for it. I'm going for Adam Warlock, being known as him, and Rocket Raccoon to really hone in on the when fielded damage capacity, both either as removal or as my player damage. So let's get Adam in a slot there. Let's get Rocket in a slot there. All right, well, my team is 6 cards big now. I've only got 2 slots left. I'm probably being over-ambitious trying to go for Adam Warlock and Yondu. The moment of playtesting here will be whether that Star-Lord, Mantis, Cosmo combo is going to be enough to help me ramp up enough energy to be buying Yondus and Adam Warlocks. Time will tell. I mean, of course, one other thing I didn't mention before is that if I'm KOing Cosmo Space Dogs with a view to refield them to trigger Star-Lord, but perhaps I've got another Guardians dice I could field that turn, I could seek to roll Cosmo in as just energy and just cycle Cosmos round as a low-cost dice to kick it really old school and ramp up by using Cosmo to perhaps try and roll him in on 2 shields just to bump the team up. Shield energy is not great, though, for the team, so that's something to put some thought into. I'm not looking to buy a lot of high-cost shield characters, which is not ideal, but there we go. Anyway, let's fill those last 2 slots then. So, a little bit of protection for the guys. I don't know if one of these Groots might be the way to go. Groot Protector I need to eliminate right off the bat because I'm planning on using the Star-Lord ping damage on my own characters so that I can recycle my when fielded effects. So I don't want to be reducing the damage that I do there. So maybe the Groot that stops my guys being targeted by globals and action dice. Is that going to really help me out? I'm just trying to think. Yeah, could be some space for some global prevention there. Angela Odin's dot is obviously a nice bit of control. I like Agent Venom for his call-out, though. He's a nice bit of targeted removal to get up in your opponent's face. He's got some better fielding costs than some of the other characters on the Guardians team as well. I'm going to go with my instincts, but once again, let me know in the comments down below where you might have gone with this. I'm thinking Groot to protect my characters from actions and globals, any shenanigans that might be going on there. And I'm thinking Agent Venom for his call-out ability as a bit of backup removal. And if I end up turning to try to throw some wide field attacks across at my opponent, then Agent Venom is nice with that call-out, because call-out, of course, means that you can force particular dice to block Agent Venom, which may be useful, a bit of combat trickery to help you out. All right, there we go. So we've got a team, guys. We've got a team. We need to look at the basic actions, but we've got something together. So a ramp engine with Star-Lord and Mantis. We got Cosmo in there for a bit of control and protection, but also as my consistent KO and refielding character to trigger Star-Lord and Mantis. We've got a win condition with Yondu and Adam Warlock, so we're going to try and fill my field with Guardians, drop a Yondu out while Adam Warlock's out and do loads and loads of damage, but then use Star-Lord to be able to recycle Yondu to KO him, put him in prep so he can be rolled in next turn, rather than waiting for him to go through the dice bag. Although if things do get trapped in the dice bag, all this prepping from my bag might help me move it through quicker. I've got Groot for a bit of protection against any cheeky-janky actions or globals that might be going on, and I've got Rocket and Agent Venom to use to try and kill stuff that my opponent's using that I'm not a fan of them having. So, yeah, that's come together quite well. I haven't got any globals on there that I feel will be super useful to my opponent. Groot has got one. The pay 2 to gain a life, use this ability only 1 turn. So if my opponent wants to get themselves up by a life every turn, I suppose they could do. But it's not hugely damaging to my effect, but there's nothing in there that's going to counter any of my own cards. So, yeah, there's my core team of characters. I just now need to put a bit of thought into some basic actions. So as far as basic actions go, lots of directions I feel like I could take with this. It very much depends on how you, in your local play group, how you sort of legislate around basic actions when it comes to playing theme formats like single affiliation. We at the Ministry of Dice, when we put on MOD PDMs around the UK, we generally restrict the basic actions to match up to the intellectual property of your core team. So with a Marvel team, Guardians of the Galaxy being Marvel characters, then I'd be restricted to using basic actions from only Marvel sets, for example. So it very much depends. If it was wide open and you were pretty loosey-goosey and said, like, use any basic action you want, I'd be definitely tempted to look at something like a Resurrection to get me a prep global in the mix. It's additional ramp and it helps me with my first 3 turn kind of bag cycling, especially when I'm looking at 2-3 costs in my first couple of turns. Help me get to my Mantis and my Star-Lord quicker going into turn 3. There's some stuff I might look at, like feedback, for example. So if I'm doing a bit of pingity-ping and a bit of KOing, like using the Star-Lord game effect to shoot sidekicks and opposing weenies off, or if I'm using doubled up Rocket Raccoons with Adam Warlock, then feedback can be nice just to give him a bit of life loss. I also might consider something like Confront the Mighty as a nice little basic action mechanic to allow me to have an extra bit of removal to get rid of opposing characters, but also as a self-KOing technique in order to recycle Rockets, recycle Yondus, and to or, you know, if I've fired off my Cosmo Space Dog, then to use Confront the Mighty and make sure my character doesn't die, because my characters aren't taking any damage. So there's stuff like that in the mix. I'd also maybe consider stuff like Rally in order to clear sidekicks out my use pile, just to thin the dice cycle so that I can get to my Guardians of the Galaxy characters quicker, but also just to give me some weenie blockers, some weenie defense to get in the mix. I'm not relying on globals a great deal either, so I'd consider perhaps something like a Nefarious Broadcast or Pirate Broadcast, just to run a bit further interference on my opponent's global usage, if they've got global stuff going on, because I'm not making a great deal of use of globals, but my opponent is, so stuff like that. So there's a lot of options there, and I think in this particular instance, I would follow my own rules around sticking to Marvel-only intellectual property, and I'm going to go for Confront the Mighty as an extra bit of removal and a bit of extra self-KOing opportunity, and Pirate Broadcast to run interference on my opponent's global usage. And, oh, well, do I need Pirate Broadcast, though? Because I've put that Groot in the team, haven't I? Yeah, do you know what? Scratch that. I'm not going to go for Pirate Broadcast. I'm going to go for something like Too Big to Fly. Too Big to Fly. So I'm just going to load up a load of removal in my basic actions, because Too Big to Fly KOs characters of attack greater than 6. My team has only got Adam Warlock and Yondu with stats greater than 5, sorry, there. So, and I'm quite happy for my opponent to KO my Yondu, so I can reuse it next turn. It's got the buff global for a fist, which could be useful if I do throw some attacks. Yeah, yeah, I'm going to say Confront the Mighty. There you go. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use it because I think I'm safer from that type of removal than my opponent is, and I can pick one up and use it if there's any really big, scary stuff that I want to get rid of. So there we go. There's my team. And there we go. A Guardians of the Galaxy team. Off the shelf, ready to use in a golden-themed single affiliation event. So, yeah, that'll do for today. That's probably quite long already. Where's my timer? Oh, yeah, that is long. I'll have to cut some dead space out of that. But I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think of the new interface and this kind of team brewing style of video. I haven't done this a great deal in the past, but I can do more if it's of interest. So let me know in the comments down below if this is something you'd like to see me do again. Also, have you built a Guardians of the Galaxy team? How did you put it together? What did that look like? Would you have gone for some different choices? What are some of the flaws with this that I might need to tinker around with and mitigate against that you can foresee that I've not noticed while I've been kind of just stream of consciousnessing out my team build here towards a camera today? All that good stuff. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if there's a particular affiliation or theme or team build that you want me to try and do this again around on a hot camera, then let me know. I could do that too. Okay, I'll close that down there. Then it's been a pleasure to have you here with me on the Ministry of Dice YouTube channel today. Don't forget to do all the YouTubey things with the thumbs up and the subscribe buttons and the notification bells and blah, 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 blah. Keep it Ministry of Dice for all your Dice Masters content. And I'll see you next time, guys. Have a great day.